Jai Gurudev.
When may I live in the love of my heart?
The truth of the matter is, there's tremendous, beautiful love in the heart. Everybody has felt it at times. There's real beauty there. There's no one that wouldn't want to live in that beauty. But very few people know how. Very few. So if you ask the question, when may I live there, really, truly live there, and never leave, there's an answer. And the answer is very, very simple. It really is very simple. When you want to feel and experience and bathe in that love in your heart more than anything else, anything, you will stay there and never leave. But that's not what people think. They think like this. Well, the only time I ever really felt that is when I was with so-and-so, or when such and such happened, or when this situation was this way, and that situation was that way. Those are the times that I felt that tremendous beauty and love and peace and joy and divinity inside of my heart. Therefore, I need to either get those situations back, or I need to recreate them in another way, place and time. And as romantic as that sounds, that is the folly of humanity. That is probably the last way you will ever, ever feel love in your heart. Why? When it happened before, it was spontaneous. Just somehow the chemistry, the physics, the dynamics of the situation, the energy, your state of mind, your state of heart, somebody else's state of mind and heart, the weather, your conditions in life, all of the factors came together unbeknownst and unexpected by you to where all of a sudden this beauty and love opened up inside your heart. Now what you're doing is the complete opposite of that. Those situations don't exist by definition, or you'd be feeling it. And you're not feeling it by definition, or you wouldn't be thinking about how to feel it. So what you're doing is thinking about how to manipulate and control people, places, and things in order to create the situations that you think will cause that to happen. Now, that doesn't sound very spontaneous to me. That is the exact opposite of spontaneity. That is manipulation and control. That is structured thinking, reason, logic, mental control, and that is the opposite of what spontaneous means. And so it is not possible, not even close to possible, ever, that you will recreate those situations by using your mind to figure out what the chemistry needs to be, since the mind understands absolutely nothing about it. All it does is have a memory of the fact that it happened. Well, a memory is very, very different than an understanding, and the mind has no understanding. And so all it can do is try to mimic what it thinks happened and hope that it will cause it to happen again. But I'm going to tell you something that is 100% certain. It will not cause it to happen again. It cannot cause it to happen again. First, all of the energy and situations, the dynamics of the situation are different. Therefore, it wouldn't happen anyways. Even the same situation, if it spontaneously happened, would not create that opening, because you're a totally different person than you were at that time because of the situations and learning and changes you've been through. But more than that, it is because the mind is involved. It is because it is planned, it is conditioned, it is controlled. And for something to be spontaneous, for the heart to open, the mind has to get out of the way. The mind cannot make that happen. Now, a wise person has at least gotten to the point of understanding that when the mind is active, the heart cannot feel. And when the heart is feeling, the mind is not active. When you feel tremendous love and joy or beauty or peace inside your heart, your mind shuts up. The mind just stops. When you sit there and you feel tremendous connection and love for somebody, and you're just sitting there in their presence, looking at them, intoxicated, I guarantee you your mind is not thinking about dinner. It's not thinking about anything. And the minute it does start thinking, you stop feeling. So that's the first thing to understand, is the relationship between your heart and your mind. They are totally different things. Your heart, your spiritual heart, is around the location of your physical heart, and your mind is nowhere near that. Your mind is around the location of your brain, of your head. These things are not your physical heart, and they are not your brain, but the energy equivalent of them is situated in those areas. And so you feel your heart in your chest, and you feel love in your chest. You don't feel it in your mind, and you don't think in your heart. You think with your mind. So to be in your mind means you're not in your heart. To be in your heart means you're not in your mind. We say that all the time, don't we? That somebody who's in love they can't think well. They're making stupid decisions, right? Because they're thinking with their heart. And somebody who's in their mind cannot love. They can't feel because they left their mind. It's really neat. And the interaction between these two is such that wherever the consciousness, the Shakti, the Chi, the energy is located, that's what becomes activated. If you only have one plug in your house and you plug in the blender, then the vacuum doesn't work. If you plug in the vacuum, then the blender doesn't work. These things are appliances. Your mind is appliance. It has certain features and functions. It has a way it works. Your mind creates thoughts. Your mind can manipulate and control thoughts. That's what your mind does. Your heart does not create thoughts. The heart has never created a thought ever by itself. The mind creates thoughts. The heart creates vibrations, feelings, emotions. The mind does not do that. So they're appliances. They're as different as a blender and a television. So basically, you start to understand what's going on. That in order to experience love, you must go to where love lives. Love will not come to you. You must go to where love lives. And love lives in your heart, which means you have to leave your mind. So the question of when can I live in the love of my heart, the answer is as soon as you're willing to leave your mind. As soon as you're willing to not live in your mind, you can begin to feel your heart. So why wouldn't I be willing to leave my mind? You're going to find this very difficult to leave your mind. And the reason is because you're afraid. The reason is because you're trying to protect yourself. You're trying to control situations because you have an underlying innate fear of what could happen to you or what other people will do or what situations could happen. And the last thing in the world you would ever do is leave life to spontaneity. Leave it to unfold what unfolds. Leave people to be what they are. Leave situations to happen when they happen. Leave things to not happen when they don't happen. Because that is a frightening thing, to just think that everything is free to be however it is, to unfold and manifest in any way that it naturally does, because you feel that you're going to get hurt. You feel that it's going to cause you damage and pain and terrible things are going to happen. And so instead, what you try to do, everybody does, is create within your mind, which has the ability to think, a thought pattern that exemplifies how things need to be in order for you to be okay. That's what you do with your mind. It's like I told you once before, God gave you an inboard computer, the most powerful computer that was ever made, and said, do with it whatever you want. You want to play video games? Play video games. You want to design things? Design things. You want to do artwork? Do artwork. You want to go to music sites? Go to music sites. Anywhere you want to go, just use your computer however you want to use your computer. It's there for you. It's the most powerful than ever was. And once you caught on, which didn't take you long, this goes way back, you started using your computer for one thing. And the truth is, pretty much for only one thing. And that is, oh computer, I'm not okay. What does everybody else and everything else need to do so that I'll be okay? That's what you did with your computer. Figure it out. Go to work, computer. Figure out how she needs to be and he needs to be and how he needs to talk to me and how he needs to dress and when it should snow and when it should be hot and what my car needs to be like and what needs to happen and what everybody and what the neighbors need to do, what I need, just every single thing in the whole world, especially the world around me, how it needs to be under every situation all the time. Spell it out for me, paint it for me, give me the model of how everything needs to be so that I'll be okay. That's the first thing that you told that computer to do. Then when the computer started doing its thing, because it does it very quickly, doesn't it? It comes up with that 600 choices a minute. This thing, no, that's not, yeah, no. And it's just, you watch it do it. It's trying to figure out how everything needs to be so that you're okay. God forbid it actually comes up with something that you think will work. Whoa. If he would do this and she would do this and then they went away and they moved and this person went over here and that person stopped loving that person but they loved me instead. And if that went over and that went over there, if all those things happened, if I won the lottery and it was a thing, and it was right? And if those things happen, then I'd be okay. And you start to go, yeah, I would. And you made up a fairyland inside your virtual reality mind. And then you started to believe in it, really. Like, yeah. This is what it needs to be. This is unbelievable. Then you went back to the very same computer, since it's very powerful. It never ever runs out of processing power or memory or anything. It's infinite, all right? It's a quad core. It can do many, many things at once. And basically, you went to it and said, okay, now that we've figured out how it all needs to be for me to be okay, that's kind of fun. But it's not just going to be that way by itself. I got this problem still. And the computer says, why? It's how. Why you have problem? I told you how it needs to be. And you just tell the computer, yeah, but it won't be that way by itself. I told her in my mind how to be, and I'm sitting here waiting. So what do I do now? And so you go to the computer, and the computer comes back and says, okay, all right, you dumbbell, I got to tell you everything. Here's how you need to manipulate and control and conjure and connive and do all kinds of things and plot and plan and influence people to your benefit so that, like a chess game, you get it all eventually the way you want it to be. It does tell you those things, doesn't it? Go out and tell her this so that she tells him that. And then it was like, whoa, wow, you mean we're going to manipulate the world so that it turns out to be like our model? Yeah. Well, how would I know how to? The computer will tell you how. Your mind will tell you how. Well, by the time you're gone to your mind and asked it to do all that, just basically saying, I'm not okay, what needs to happen for me to be okay? And it's busy building all that model, and you got to prove everything. It's like a business. You stamp, approved, rejected, approved. It keeps trying until it gets some, and it builds it all together. It's true, you understand? It sounds funny, but it's really true. That's what's happening. You get it all together about everything. Everything. I mean, if you're going to go fly to Europe, you never flew before, you know what the airport should be like, what the plane should be like, what the temperature should be like. It builds an entire model of every single thing, even things it knows absolutely nothing about. And what does it base them on? Me. It just makes up whatever it wants to make up based upon what it thinks will make you feel better, what it thinks will make you happy, what it thinks will make things work better. Then it goes about its business trying to figure out how to make all that happen, which is like impossible. You got to change the whole world and hold it all together. By the time you're done doing that, forget about your heart. You get it? Because you're going to live in your mind. Because that's a full-time job. That's a full-time job. Hold that model together, check everything out. Do you realize before you walk in a room, before you meet anybody, before you go for an interview, before you eat, every single thing you do, that computer adjusts your model and figures out how what you're about to do fits inside of how you want it to be. What temperature the food should be, how it's served, this every single little, what table's available in the restaurant, how many people are in the restaurant, do you like them crowded or do you like them kind of half empty, or do you like them totally empty, or does that make you feel like you picked the wrong restaurant? Everyone's different, but you got it all figured out, don't you? What are the people wearing in the restaurant? Do you feel appropriate with what you're dressed with? Every single little thing. It's embarrassing, isn't it? It's unbelievable. It is busy doing that all the time. And then you're figuring out what to do about it. How does it need to be? How do I get it that way? How do I not want it to be? How do I make sure it doesn't happen? Doing one or the other. By the time you're done doing that, I'm telling you, you're going to live in your mind. It's going to be a full-time job. The mind will never stop. It'll be active all the time. When you try to fall asleep at night, you will not be able to, because that thing won't stop. It'll keep figuring out how it needed to. Just to get dynamic, it doesn't only figure out how it needs to be. As embarrassing and ridiculous as it sounds, it continues figuring out how it needed to be. But it's done. It wasn't that way. Yeah, but it should have been. So it's not only how does it need to be, it's about how it needed to be, and it's about how will it need to be. There are people who have it all figured out, not just what's happening now, but every day for the next 30 years. How it's going to happen, when they're going to meet the person, how many kids they're going to have, and what the kids are going to be like. And was it be boy first or girl first? And what's this going to be like? What's it going to be like? What the husband going to be doing? You're 12 years old. I'm not exaggerating, am I? And now you wonder why the mind's so active. The mind is active because you asked it to be. How's that? And it is doing nothing different than what you asked it to do. Why? Why? Because look at that thing. It's sick, isn't it? I mean, it's neurotic. It never stops for a second. It's just layer after layer and one thing. Why would you have asked it to do something that made it do that? And the answer is because you're not okay. You're not okay, and you went to it to try to figure out how to be okay. So your commitment in life as a normal human being, shouldn't be, but it is not to your heart. Your commitment is to your mind. You're not okay. That's a state of heart. I'm not okay. I don't feel love. I'm sad. I don't feel meaning. Notice they're feelings. They're not mind. It's not like I can't think of a meaning. I can think of lots of meaning. I don't feel any meaning, right? It's not like I can't think of someone to love. I can think of lots of people to love, but I don't feel any love. I can think of lots of purposes in life, but I don't feel driven and inspired anymore. These are heartfelt things. But they're not heartfelt things because you're not in your heart. You're in your mind. Now, isn't that hilarious? It's so simple, isn't it? And then how we try to solve the problem of not being in our heart but being in our mind? With our minds. Here's a book. Read it. How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's still mind. It's like, oh, should I wear this? Should I wear that? This will do it. This will get me into my heart. No, it won't. The heart is a different place than the mind. The mind is not going to take you to the heart. The mind is going to take you into a philosophy about the heart. I've got it all down. I figured out what I was doing wrong. I thought I needed this type of person to be happy and to live in this kind of situation. But now I found out I need that kind of person to be happy in a totally different... What are you doing? You just changed your thoughts. You didn't change where you're living. And that's all anyone's doing. They're just changing clothes. From one thing to another, one philosophy to another, one hope to another. You go to your mind to decide how you think it needs to be. You got it all figured out. But while you're in your mind, you are not going to feel your heart. Therefore, I don't think you figured anything out. I think you're compounding the problem instead of solving it. So it is really very, very simple to know how you can live in the love of your heart. And that is to realize the answer is not to live in your mind. But that's very difficult because we are extremely used to using logic, reason, etc., to figure out how to solve our problems. But in this particular case, it causes your problems. I like to liken it to somebody who once or twice in their whole life, they lived near this beautiful lake. And once and twice in their whole life, that lake became so still, like mirror still, naturally by itself, to where when you looked in it, you just saw a perfect reflection of yourself and the leaves. And it was so gorgeous, it took their breath away. But it didn't last. The wind came, the leaves fell, things happened, rain fell in it. It always was like that. But they wanted to get it back to that. And so what they did is they started to work with it. Right? So they'd look at a little area of the lake where it was kind of still, and when something would fall in it, they'd jump in and pull it out. And by the time you saw them, they're thrashing all over the place, pulling out every leaf that falls, jumping and diving. I got it before it hit. You got it before it hit. You're going to make more splash and waves than that leaf could ever make in a million years thrashing around in there. But you lost the whole concept of what was going on. And you're out there catching those leaves, trying to smooth out the ripples with your hand, and totally complaining that it's so tumultuous in there. That is what you're doing with your mind. Your mind is causing all the turmoil, yet you're going to your mind to solve the turmoil. And so the more active your mind becomes, the more neurotic you become. And the more neurotic you become, the more unhappy you are. And the more unhappy you are, the more you go to your mind to figure out what to do. And so you have the neurotic mind trying to figure out how not to be neurotic. Good luck. And that's true. And there's no exaggeration of what I just said. So, and then if you go to anybody else, all the rest of the world, right, all they basically say, oh, you're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. You need to be neurotic this way. You're doing too much of this or too little of this. Figure out how not to do that, right? And so, just don't catch it by diving. Be graceful in your dive when you catch the leaves. It doesn't matter. You're going to cause splashes all over the place. So, the deep teachings The deep teachings, in a nutshell, say the following. What you are looking for always is in your heart. You're looking for love. You're looking for peace. You're looking for inspiration. You're looking for depth. That's in your heart, not in your mind. If you want to experience those things, you must literally move your consciousness from being centered on your mind all the time to being centered on your heart. And there is a way to do that, which we'll talk about. But you have to understand that it doesn't make any difference to know how to do it if you don't want to do it. Does it? Not the slightest thing. If you're going to go there with your mind and say, well, I don't know if I believe in that. Let's see. Well, I don't know. And how long is it going to take? I don't have enough time for that. There. You just let your mind figure out why you shouldn't leave your mind. The mind is never going to help you with this. It's not like you're going to figure out, oh, now I see, the mind will agree and shut up and let you go to your heart. It's not going to happen. You have to be willing to leave your mind to go to your heart. And the only reason you would do that is because you truly and earnestly want to experience the love and joy and peace that exists within your heart, rather than feel safe in your ability to reason and logic and figure things out and control and manipulate, because you're gambling now that your ability to figure out what it is that will make you happy, and then your ability to make it happen, your ability to keep it that way, that's your bet. That's your best bet. That's the horse you're on. You guys right? You bet on that horse, didn't you? Right? You bet on it all the time that that's the horse I'm on. Whereas the truth of the matter is, a wise being bets on their heart. Now, why is it a bet? Well, we started this situation by saying you're not okay. You didn't just go to your mind for no reason and build that model about how to be okay. If you were okay, you wouldn't have done that. But you're not okay. Well, where is not okay? It's in the heart. So if you go to the heart right now, like right now, if you decided to go to the heart and I stopped, if I had magic powers and boom, your mind stopped and you started to feel your heart, you would never talk to me again. You wouldn't be my friend. You say, magic powers? That's terrible. At least I felt a little safe. Now I'm scared to death. If you moved from your mind to your heart right now, you would see why you're in your mind. Everything's sensible. Everything's cause and effect. The heart's not doing so well, is it? Okay? We talked very nicely about how once in a while you feel love. You want to be honest with me? You know what I mean by love. You know, that overwhelming feeling where you can't even talk and it's just like, like that, okay? Out of all the minutes that you've been conscious in your whole life, how often has it been like that? What percentage of the time? Small enough? Do they make a number small enough? I'm telling you, you could probably measure it in hours. You've been alive for a long time. You know, literally the overwhelming experience of the joy of the heart opening up and welling up inside of you. Right? Why? Because there's some work to do in there. The heart has tremendous beauty inside of it, but it's been neglected. It's been abused. It's been left on its own to try and deal with all this stuff. And where you went was into your mind. For some reason, that's just what we do. We went into our mind instead of fixing the heart. We went into the mind to try to figure out how the world needs to be so that we're more comfortable with it, despite the fact that we have a difficult problem with our heart. So it's like I have this problem with my heart, and instead of fixing it, I figure out how to live with it. Is that, you want to say the most embarrassing way? It really is embarrassing, right? I have this, I don't know you, I have this major problem with my heart. Who knows? It started from mother, father, who cares? But I get a major problem with my heart. And I don't know how to deal with it, right? So don't wear red. I don't like red. What? In order to fix this problem in my heart, she has to change her hairdo? And he can't sit like that? And don't sit that close to her because I like her and it's a little close. Right? It was like, I don't understand. The whole world is supposed to change so that I will be better off with my heart? Is that going to fix my problem with my heart? Not a chance in the world. All it's going to do is help me cope with it. It's not going to irritate it as much. It's not going to stimulate the issues as much. You're attempting to deal with your heart by making the outside world be a given way. Do you see that? You have to see that. That's the most important thing you'll ever come to say. It's a pretty funny thing to say, isn't it? You're attempting to deal with your own heart, the most sacred thing inside of you. You have problems in there. You know you do. You've been in there, right? That's why you do everything you can to not go there, right? It's not so nice in there all the time. It has been, it can be, but boy, it ain't. So the net result is, because it's not nice in there, don't talk to me like that. Don't wear that. Don't sit, etc., etc. So you're trying to change the outside to keep it from disturbing your heart so that you can live with your heart. Not go to your heart, but so your heart doesn't bother you as much. If you want to fix all this, and you can fix all this, you can fix it in no time. You have to decide that's what you want to do. If you want to fix all this, you just sit down once and for all and you say to yourself, this is really stupid. I have a problem with my heart. I'm not going to have you raise your hands. But if make-believe, I said, if you know you have a problem with your heart, raise your hand, I wonder how many hands would go up. Okay? So you live in there, you see that thing, you do everything you can to stay out of it. It's not like, oh, this is so beautiful, let me go there. It's like, whoa, anywheres but there. Anywheres. And some people come up with some pretty weird anywheres, don't they? That's what drugs are all about. That's what alcohol is about. That's what all the junk is all about, is get me away from myself. In truth, because the heart is disturbed, you go to the mind to try to fix it, which breaks the mind. And then you go out into the world to try to manipulate it, to make it so you can live with yourself, which breaks your world. And now that it's all broken, all you want to do is escape. That's literally the cycle that it goes through. If you want to break that cycle, you go to the heart. You don't go to the world. I'm sorry to tell you, you don't even go to another person. Right now you're out there thinking another person's going to fix all this. How could another person fix all this? The problem is in your heart. Well, I'll find another person who treats me exactly the way I need to be treated so I don't have a problem with my heart. You will never, ever, 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 ever find that person. If you cannot live with yourself, nobody can live with you. All right? So you can't substitute somebody else for yourself. All right? I'm having trouble losing weight. You lose it. What? That would be not sane at all. Nobody would live like, but I can't live with my heart. I can't do it. You do this and I'll be okay. No, you won't be okay. And guess what? The poor person who was attracted to you, unfortunately, they're not going to be okay either. If what you're doing is saying, I can't live with myself. Oh, no, stand over. Oh, that's better. No, don't stand over there. Stand over there. Oh, don't talk to me that way. Now, louder. Oh, that's perfect. Oh, my God, are they going to go crazy? Trying to behave the way you need for them to behave, for your heart to be okay when it's not okay. And don't look at me as though you never asked anybody to do that. Because that's all you ask the people who... That's what love has become. Love is not love. Oh my God, I'm so in love I can't even see straight, right? It's beautiful. That's love. It's like I don't feel love. In fact, I feel fear and insecurity and self-consciousness and lack of love and lack of worthiness and so on. So you need to behave this way and talk to me this way and act that way and do all these things so that I feel better about myself. And so you end up manipulating and controlling the very people that you're supposed to be having love relationships with. How do you stop this? You stop it by deciding that at any cost, no matter what, you don't want to do it anymore. You see clearly that it is not going to work. There is no way it is going to work to leave your heart not okay, make up something in your mind, and then try to make it happen. It's so simple. I don't know why we don't see that. First, what you make up, even if it happened, wouldn't fix your heart, because it has nothing to do with your heart. Second, it ain't going to happen anyways, and you know it. There's no way the world caters to anybody, right? And the very act of going out there trying to make it happen is going to break everything. You'll resent it, you'll feel this, that, and all kinds of stuff will happen, plus everyone will resent you. And now what happens? That's what ends up happening. You're at war. All because your heart's a mess and you didn't bother fixing it. At some point, you will actually listen to this. Not now. It seems like you will now, but you won't. All right? There's only two things that I've seen make somebody actually try to live this way. One, they have an experience, spiritual, love, whatever, that is so deep and so beautiful that they just fall in love with that experience. And they just sit there and say, now I see what it's capable of being. I'm going to spend the rest of my life learning to stay there. I'm not going to go back to the way I did things. Or, what is more likely, unfortunately, it becomes so bad. The heart becomes so painful. The world becomes such a mess to where everything is disturbing them. Everything is just an end condition of unacceptance and they are suffering so deeply that they have no choice but to find a way out of that suffering. On those two edges, you will get forced, you won't choose, you will get forced to find a way to stop this cycle of ignorance that you're caught in. All right, let's say you do that. How do you move from the mind to the heart? It is so easy. You don't need teachings. It's like saying you could lead a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink. Well, of course I can't make it drink. It's standing right there. Drink. How could I teach it to drink? Right? If you want to go from the mind to the heart, go from the mind to the heart. Now you're going to sit there and say, how? And you're only saying how because you're just in the habit of staying there and you just don't understand. It's like saying to somebody, but I don't know how to fall asleep. I get in bed and I put my head down on a pillow like that, but it doesn't happen. Could you tell me how to fall asleep? No. I can get you right to that point, but I don't know how to tell you to go the rest of the way. It's supposed to just happen. It says, boom, you go to sleep. All right? If you stop going into your mind, you will end up in your heart. That's the answer. The heart is the place you go when you stop avoiding the heart by getting lost in the mind. So instead of going to the heart, you stop going to the mind. That's a much more logical and understandable thing. But what does that mean? All right, now you're in trouble. You don't want to know what it means. It means as follows. You're standing there in a relationship with somebody, and you've noticed that you're a little edgy today, you feel insecure, and you didn't have a good day at work, and you come home, and there they are. And whatever they're doing, and you walk in, and they don't stop doing everything they're doing instantly the moment you walk in and put down whatever they're reading, whatever they're cooking, whatever they're doing. You just go, oh, he or she's home. They just somehow forgot to do that. You told them to, and there's instructions on the refrigerator, right? But they didn't do it. And so you walk in, and you're there, and your heart goes like that, doesn't it? It goes like a heart attack. You start to feel this tightness like that. It grips you, doesn't it? Like that. Grabs you like that. Okay? Except that you're different now. Why? Because you've decided you want to be. You've decided you don't want to do the same thing you always did, which is try to get them to behave the way you think they should behave so that that doesn't happen. No, you don't want to control the world to try to make the heart be temporarily better off. You want to fix the heart. What does that mean? It means that this human being has as much right in this world to be the way they are as I have the right to be the way I am. And when I come home, that's like it's raining. That's like this is what's on TV. It's like a nothing. It's like it's an event in the universe. How many times does somebody come home? It's like lots and lots of times. You stop thinking that the world revolves around you. Even to the person that's the closest, most sacred relationship, is not only even, especially to the person that has to try and live with you. And so you come home, and the person's going about their business. And that's the business you want them going about. Why? It's them. It's who they are. It's the reality of the moment. They're absorbed in their book. They're on the phone, whatever it is they're doing. They're your friend, and this is what they are doing. And the fact that your heart has a problem is not their problem. Nor are you going to make it be their problem. It's your problem. There is no reason in the world that when you walk in that house and you see this person who you love or care about going about their little business of doing their little thing, that you don't feel love. Right? You don't say, oh, look how beautiful he's reading a book. Look how beautiful she's doing this. And I say, whoa, wow. I know you're a healthy, adjusted, adapted human being with an open heart. And boy, isn't that what it would be like? Wouldn't that be fun? That people go about their business and you're fine. And nobody has to cater to you. You just feel wonderful and love seeing them, and you just feel love all the time. That's when we started. And can I live in the love of my heart? The trouble is you're not feeling love in your heart right now. If you go into your mind and you try to figure out how to make the outside world change so you don't feel this go on inside your heart, you will never, ever feel love in your heart. Because you're not going to your heart. You're living in your mind to avoid your heart. You're trying to avoid your heart, you understand?
You say to me, but I don't understand. You told me there was love in my heart. And I said I want to go to love. I didn't say I want to go to the poop in my heart. I know I don't like that stuff, all right? So, of course I'm trying to avoid that stuff. No, the love is on the other side of this other stuff. Your heart is dark. Your heart has problems because you've left it. You didn't take care of it. It's broken. It's a diamond that has coal around it. It got dirty. You have to go there. You have to be willing to go there and work with it and fix it, not avoid it and then think you're going to experience it. And so you walk in that house and you feel this junk go on and you sit in there and you say, fine, it's time to deal with my heart. Not fine, it's time to manipulate somebody else so that they're in charge of my heart. Never, ever, ever is it that. See? Serious stuff, isn't it? And guess what? You know I'm right, don't you? But no one will live like this except a great being. A great being will live like this. How often? Every single time. All the time. Why? Either because they experienced some beauty inside their heart that was so beautiful that that's what they want, and they want it more than they want to avoid their heart. Or they have sat on the edge of a suffering that was so deep that they realize they can't live like that. They cannot live like that. And they have to straighten that up. Otherwise, they will either be in it or afraid of being in it, and that's no way to live your life. So that person who realizes they don't have the luxury of choice anymore will deal with this the way I'm talking. So you sit there and you have this experience. Your energy gets screwed up inside your heart. Well, you realize where it got screwed up is why you don't feel love. Not because of what that person's doing. Because your heart has this issue is why you can't go deeper into your heart and experience the beauty of love all the time. So what do? You find yourself in a situation and you find your heart rejecting, repulsing, reacting to the situation. You, as a conscious being, just relax. You just relax. You don't go to your mind. What should I do? No mind. That's how you go to your heart instead of mind. You don't go to the mind. The mind, believe me, will try to tell you what to do about it. Don't listen. Because the mind will always tell you to leave the heart and go outside to change. Well, maybe I need to find myself someone who does care about when I come home. That's what the mind will say, won't it? All right? He used to love me. He used to pay attention to me. Wow. Maybe if I came home with somebody else, he'd pay attention. I bet he would then. That's how the mind thinks. That's how the mind thinks, isn't it? You may not do it, but that's how the mind thinks. I know how the mind thinks, all right? You don't want to go there ever again. But what it means to not go there is that you're going to have to experience what's going on in your heart. If you want to go to your heart, you got to go to your heart. And whatever's going on in your heart is what's going on in your heart. And you got to learn to stop running away from it. Your heart is very, very beautiful. But first you have to work your way through the issues that exist within your heart. How do you do that? By going there. How do you go there? By not going into your mind. Does that make sense? You don't try to change the world and you don't go into your mind for solutions. You just go into your heart. Well, what do I do if I go in my heart? Oh my God. You learn to be able to sit there while your heart is not doing well. All right? And that was a good way to look at a heart. As though it was your little child and that you loved it more than life itself. It was the most precious thing that could ever exist to you. And when you're with that child, if it's sick, you sit with it. You don't say, ew, what is that coming out of your nose? You wipe the nose. You're okay. You sit up at night. You take care of the child. You don't run away from the bad stuff. You sit there with them and love them through it. That is how the soul, the consciousness, you have to learn to deal with your heart. You're not afraid that your heart is an issue. You're glad to sit there with it. You're not trying to fix it. There's no fixing it. But your willingness to, instead of run away into the mind, away from your heart, to avoid it, your willingness to stay there with it will fix it. Just like love fixes everything, all right? Your willingness to sit in the presence of a heart that's doing this and just relaxing and let it know it's not alone. You're there with it. You left it alone a long time ago. I'm telling you, you went into your mind to try to solve everything. That left your heart to fend for itself. It didn't fix anything. When you stop going into your mind, you're going to feel the depth of pain in your heart, the depth of disturbance in your heart. Fine. The day your heart starts to get healed is the day you will start to feel tremendous love. And the day that you are comfortable with whatever your heart needs to go through is the day you will stop being afraid of your heart. When I mean you, I just mean your consciousness, your awareness of being. So you learn to relax and release when your heart has an issue. Do not ever, ever blame somebody else for what's going on inside your heart. It is never somebody else's fault. That's the hardest thing for a human being to hear. It never was, never is, and never will be. You are responsible for what goes on inside your heart. The fact that somebody else behaves a given way, no matter how they behave, we know how they can behave, don't we? They can get way out there. And now we know why. Because they're not okay and their mind told them to do it. It said, this is how to fix it. No, I don't think I want to look at what they came up with. You got it straight, but that's what happens. So you get to be the recipient of somebody else's sickness. All the more reason that you learn not to do it yourself. And you realize, if my heart were okay, truth, I'd always be okay. If I'm whole and complete within myself, no matter what other people do, it's not going to disturb me. I'm just going to have compassion and understanding. I'll take care and protect myself and defend myself. You have to do responsible things, but it will not touch my heart. It will not touch my heart. That's how saints live. It's just that heart is open, and it will never, ever close again. With no work. There's no work. The heart is spontaneous from within itself. You have worked it through to a state of health. Now the outside world goes about its business, and you don't let it disturb your heart. You deal with all things with that level. So if it's true that your heart can reach that state, then why are you blaming other people for the problem with your heart? So all blame goes away. It's very simple. Your heart is your responsibility. I'm sorry. Your heart is your responsibility. Don't pawn it off on somebody else and then get mad when they don't do it, because it ain't going to happen. The way you work with your heart is a starting position. You have to go there. You want to build a house, you better go to the construction site. It ain't going to happen from home. You want to work with your heart, you have to be willing to go there. The way you go to your heart is to not go to your mind. If you don't go to your mind, if you just relax and release your thoughts, don't pay attention to them, who cares? I didn't ask for your advice, thank you, but no thank you. You will find yourself falling into your heart. And I'm warning you, so you don't get mad at me, it will not be an easy journey. Your heart is a mess. Only because you left it that way. How do you deal with the messes that the heart goes through? You relax and release. You relax and release. You do not do anything about it. You just be willing to be there with it. How? By not running away from it. You just relax and release. And someday you will realize you can sit in the presence of whatever the heart needs to go through, and your presence of being, it's a true statement, your presence of being, your consciousness, your awareness of being willing to relax and be comfortable in the midst of whatever the heart's going through is what will heal your heart. That will heal your heart. All of a sudden, it'll just start to calm down. You were thrashing around in the waters of your heart, trying to get out. I told you the other day, it was like you're treading water to stop from drowning, because there's a lot of waves, and I have to tread water. You don't realize that you're treading in the water that's making the waves. You are drowning trying to stay away from your heart. When you relax and release, you stop treading. And all of a sudden, the noise will stop, little by little. And you're going to find beauty inside your heart. I don't care what you've ever done. It doesn't make any difference. And don't you ever let anyone tell you it does. It doesn't make any difference. If it's still bothering you, anything you ever did for the history of your life, it's because you're holding it inside of you. The day you let it go, might as well not happen. It's just there for your learning. It's there for you to falling and learn. Sort of like somebody who went through math from kindergarten all the way through calculus, but they're really held back because they really feel guilty about the math test they failed in 5th grade. Well, you failed it in 5th grade, but you took it again, and once you learned it, it's over. Why would you even think about it ever again? And if you do think about it ever again, you won't like math, will you? It'll screw you up forever. It's the same thing with every single situation in your entire life. You are here to grow. Anything that ever happened when you weren't as conscious as you are now was the rungs on the ladder that you were climbing to become conscious. To the extent that it still disturbs you and stays inside of you, that's because you didn't deal with things properly. You got them stuck inside of you. As you go down into your heart and relax and release, let them go. What should I do about this? When I was 5, my mother did it. Let it go. The answer is always the same. Kiss it goodbye. Kiss it goodbye. You could use a sweet kiss if you want. Bye, Ma. I'm serious. There's no reason. It's inside of you. You're holding it there. You didn't deal with it right. You've got to purify yourself. And you just relax and release, and these energies will release inside of you. They will. And you will start to feel this tremendous beauty deep inside your heart. And once you start to feel it, you're never coming back. Because it's more beautiful than anything you ever experienced from anybody or anything, any physical experience, anything that came in through your senses, anything that anyone ever said to you. It is more beautiful than, in fact, all beauty you ever felt before was because something touched that spot. Right? It came from inside of you. Now you're going to the spot it came from. Wow. And you'll start to realize you don't ever have to leave. Ever. Once you start to feel that, now the question becomes, why are you leaving? Why are you leaving? And your whole journey from that point forward becomes not leaving. I ain't leaving. I don't care what they do. I don't care what anybody does. I don't care what anybody says. And if there's anything that could cause me to start to leave, then that's my growth. Because the name of the game is go on, do whatever you want, be however you need to be. Because guess what? Not everyone's going with you. You got that straight? Once you start to take that journey, you are a rare flower on this planet. There are not a whole lot of people that are exploring their heart and letting go of everything else. So what? Well, you want to be like them? Okay. But mommy, everybody else is ruining their lives. Why can't I? Why do I have to be different? Well, that's your choice. All right? When you decide to be different, you get to. And nothing can stop you because the journey is completely inside yourself, isn't it? And so you start to mine for that place by not going into the mind. And as it opens up, you just keep going. Keep going. Like I said, I like the spot where you get to where you've had enough experience to where you see it. It's not the teaching, you see it. If I let go, it opens. If I go back to mind and manipulation, it closes. And open is beautiful and closed is dark. I'm going. You become the rare one. How rare that flower is. I'm going no matter what. No matter how long it takes. No matter what I have to go through, no matter what anybody does, period. And you start using every situation in life as an invitation to go. It's easy when nothing's bothering you, but it's the things that bother you that prove to you you're not done yet. So therefore, everything's good. Everything becomes a gift for you to help you go. That's the answer to the question of when may I live in the love of my heart. Jai Gurudev.